What if I told you that karma doesn't make noise, but it never misses? That phrase alone might stir something in you, a memory, a face, a situation where you wish justice would come faster, louder, and more visibly. But Stoicism teaches us that true justice rarely needs an audience. It's not wrapped in revenge or exposed in public humiliation. It happens quietly, internally, and inevitably. We live in a world that craves spectacle. People want to see consequences unfold in real time. They want apologies to be public, failures to be visible, and revenge to be satisfying. But nature has never worked that way. Life doesn't owe us the show. The Stoics understood this deeply. Karma, if you choose to call it that, is not a loud declaration from the universe. It's the quiet decay of character, the slow erosion of peace, and the hidden weight of actions that catch up with us in silence. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced betrayals, wars, plagues, and immense pressure. But nowhere in his meditations do you find him hoping for his enemies to suffer. Instead, he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." He didn't seek punishment for others. He focused on preserving his own character. That, he believed, was the highest form of justice, not letting others drag you away from your principles. That's the lens through which we approach today's reflection. Because here on Diary Stoic, we're not chasing gossip or vengeance. We're observing life through the lens of reason and virtue. And today, you're going to learn something both subtle and powerful. The 5 silent signs that someone is already receiving their karma. Not through public downfall, not through social disgrace, but through the natural consequences that follow when someone strays from integrity, compassion, and virtue. This video is not about judgment, it's about recognition, about knowing that the energy you put into the world eventually shapes your inner world. The Stoics didn't believe in superstition, but they understood cause and effect better than anyone. Epictetus often reminded his students that suffering doesn't come from external events. It comes from our judgments, our thoughts, and the stories we tell ourselves. In that same spirit, when someone harms others, betrays trust, or lives without discipline, the damage begins internally, quietly, inevitably. You don't need to wish harm on anyone. That's not the Stoic way. In fact, the more you wish for others to suffer, the further you drift from your own peace. What you'll learn today is that the universe, the mind, and the conscience already deliver consequences, and they do so without your interference. Each of these 5 signs is drawn from Stoic observation, from the writings of Seneca, who taught that a guilty conscience never feels secure, from Epictetus, who said that no man is free who is not master of himself, and from Marcus Aurelius, who believed that living in accordance with nature is the ultimate source of peace. When someone steps away from that path, they lose more than you can see. They might still be smiling, they might still be successful, they might still be admired in public, but inside, things begin to collapse. And that's the essence of karma, not mystical punishment, but psychological, emotional, and existential consequence. The signs we'll explore aren't for you to weaponize. They're for you to understand. They'll help you recognize when letting go is the better path, when walking away is wisdom, when silence speaks louder than confrontation. Because often, the person you think is getting away with it is already facing a battle within you'll never see. And perhaps most importantly, these signs will serve as reminders for your own life. Stoicism is not just about understanding others, it's about self-mastery. It's about asking, am I living in a way that creates peace or disturbance in my own soul? Am I acting with virtue, or am I secretly setting the stage for my own suffering? These signs will also help you heal. Because one of the hardest parts of being hurt by someone is feeling like they'll never face the consequences. But the Stoics knew better. Consequences don't need to be seen to be real. And suffering doesn't need an audience to exist. As we go through each point, I'll challenge you to reflect, not just on others, but on yourself. To ask, where do I see this in my life? What am I still holding on to? What do I need to release so I can walk forward with strength and dignity? By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the 5 signs, you'll feel the power of letting go, the clarity that comes with not needing revenge, the freedom that comes from trusting that the world unfolds as it should, and that your only task is to remain rooted in reason and virtue. And stay with me all the way to the end. Because the 5th and final sign is the most subtle and the most powerful. It's the one most people miss, but once you understand it, it will forever change the way you see karma, silence, and the hidden order of things. This isn't just content. It's a call to rise above noise, to detach from resentment, to observe life with clarity and strength. So listen closely. Let these signs speak to your own wisdom. And when we finish, I want you to leave a simple comment, not an opinion, not a judgment. Just 5 quiet words that hold immense power. Silence never lies. Write it if this message resonated with you. If you're ready to let go of what you can't control. If you're choosing peace over pride. If you're choosing the Stoic path, even when it's not easy. Let's begin. Sign number 5. They no longer trust their own peace. There is a kind of punishment that no one sees. It doesn't show up in a courtroom. It's not posted online. It doesn't make headlines. It happens silently, in the privacy of a person's own mind. When someone knows they've acted wrongly, when they've betrayed trust, violated values, or harmed others, they often lose the ability to feel peace. Not because someone took it from them, but because they abandoned it themselves. They no longer trust their own stillness. They avoid being alone. The quiet becomes unbearable. They fill their days with distraction, noise, people, tasks, endless movement, not to live fully, but to outrun the thoughts waiting for them in the silence. They say yes to events they don't care about, watch content they don't enjoy, and chase stimulation just to avoid their own reflection. This is the karma the Stoics understood best. Seneca wrote, "A guilty conscience never feels secure." And he was right. Guilt doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just lingers, in small moments. In the way they can't hold eye contact, in the way they flinch when someone speaks the truth, in the way they no longer feel safe inside their own skin. Stoicism teaches us that peace comes from alignment between thought, action, and values. When someone breaks that alignment, when they lie, manipulate, or hurt others, they may escape consequences in the outer world. But the inner world begins to decay, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. You may see them succeeding, smiling, posting, living as if nothing happened, but underneath it all, they've lost something essential. They can't rest. They don't trust their own calm. Because deep down they know it isn't real, it's a performance, and performances are exhausting. This is why the Stoics never obsessed over revenge. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." He knew that nature handles what it needs to handle, that truth rises. That inner conflict is more destructive than any punishment we could create. When a person no longer feels peace in solitude, they are already living their karma. And that's what makes this sign so powerful. It's invisible to the world, but undeniable to the person experiencing it. You don't need to hope for their downfall. You don't need to wait for justice. It's already happening, silently, patiently, inside of them. Sign number 4. They start attracting what they once escaped. Karma doesn't always arrive with a crash. Sometimes it returns like a shadow, quiet, persistent, following every step. One of the clearest signs that someone is receiving their karma is this. They begin attracting the very people, situations, and consequences they once thought they had escaped. It's not punishment, it's alignment. The energy they put out begins to find its way back, through others, through patterns, through life itself. A person who manipulated others will slowly find themselves surrounded by manipulation. A person who betrayed trust will be betrayed in return, not necessarily by the same people, but by life reflecting the very behavior they normalized. A person who lived in deception will begin to experience confusion, instability, and mistrust from the outside world. It's not revenge. It's a mirror. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. In other words, what we allow, what we justify, and what we practice becomes our reality. If someone harms others and thinks they can outrun the consequences, they misunderstand the nature of the world, because what we run from, if not resolved, eventually becomes what we attract. This sign often shows up subtly. They might enter a relationship where they're treated the way they treated others. They might find themselves working in environments where distrust and dishonesty are normal. Or they may keep encountering people who behave in the very ways they once excused in themselves. And it starts to hurt, not because life is cruel, but because it's trying to teach them what they refuse to learn through empathy. Stoicism doesn't teach us to enjoy this, it teaches us to observe it with clarity. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb us, but our opinion about them. We are disturbed when we think something unfair is happening. But when we see the cycle clearly, we realize this is not unfair. It's not random. It's the natural unfolding of cause and effect. And it's not limited to others. It applies to us too. So if you notice someone falling into the very traps they once set for others, understand this. It's not coincidence. It's the slow justice of life, the gravity of behavior. And when it happens, there is no need for you to intervene. They're already facing the truth by living it. When someone starts attracting what they once escaped, it's not because life is punishing them. It's because life is giving them the same test they gave others, only now from the other side. Sign number 3. The body begins to physically rebel. One of the clearest signs that someone is already receiving their karma is not something they say. It's not even something they do. It's what their body begins to reveal, quietly, gradually, and without permission. When a person lives in contradiction to their own values, when they knowingly hurt others, when they abandon integrity for short-term gain, the mind doesn't always react immediately, but the body does, and eventually it rebels. They can still pretend on the outside. They can still say the right things, show up in public, smile, and keep going through the motions. But something in their physical being begins to shift. They can't sleep, their stomach tightens, their chest feels heavy without explanation. Their heart races in moments that should be calm. They feel drained even after rest, and they often don't understand why. Stoicism teaches us that we should focus on what is within our control. But when the inner world is polluted, when the soul is disturbed, the body becomes a battlefield. And this is one of the most profound and silent forms of karma. It's not loud, it doesn't draw attention, but it is relentless. Seneca wrote about the torment of a guilty conscience, not just in terms of thoughts, but in how it affects the body. He observed how people who live dishonestly often appear tense, unsettled, easily irritated, or physically worn. They are haunted not by ghosts, but by the natural consequences of internal disorder. When someone acts out of alignment with their moral center, their physiology begins to absorb that tension. Guilt that isn't addressed becomes anxiety. Lies that are not confessed turn into sleepless nights. Betrayals that go unacknowledged create a constant state of stress in the nervous system. Even if they tell themselves it's not a big deal, the body doesn't forget. This is not about superstition, it's about the mind-body connection. The Stoics knew that human beings are not just intellect or just flesh. We are a union of both. And when our soul is unsettled, the body suffers. This is not punishment from the outside, it's justice from within. Someone who once felt energetic, focused, and physically strong begins to notice subtle decline. They become tired more easily. They get sick more often. They experience headaches, tight muscles, digestive issues. The body, which once supported them, now reflects what they've tried to suppress. And most importantly, no external remedy works. No vacation truly rests them. No distraction truly soothes them. No substance fully numbs them. Because the source of the unrest is not external stress, it's internal misalignment. This sign of karma is especially dangerous because it's easy to ignore at first. It doesn't come with dramatic consequences. It comes with whispers, a restless night, a racing mind, a tight chest. And if the person refuses to listen, the body speaks louder. More illness, more exhaustion, more breakdowns. Until eventually, life forces them to stop and confront the truth. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that the body is temporary and that suffering is part of life, but he also understood the difference between necessary suffering and suffering we create through our own choices. When someone betrays their values, the suffering that follows is not noble, it's avoidable, and it will continue until the person returns to virtue. This is why the Stoic path is so powerful. It protects the soul, and in doing so, it protects the body. A person who lives with discipline, honesty, and courage may still experience pain, but it will not be the kind of pain that eats away at them from within. It will be the kind of pain that strengthens, that clarifies, that builds resilience. But for those who live in contradiction, karma shows up in the form of slow, quiet deterioration, not as a curse, but as a signal, a wake-up call, a chance to come back to themselves. You may have seen this. Someone you once admired begins to change. Not in words, but in energy. They look tired, disconnected, they seem off. They can't relax, even in peaceful moments. Their laugh doesn't reach their eyes anymore. Their strength becomes weakness. Their confidence feels forced. They begin to unravel, not because someone exposed them, but because they're carrying a weight they can't name out loud. And if they're not ready to face the truth, they will look for every reason except the real one. They'll blame stress. They'll blame others. They'll blame aging, overwork, the world. But deep down, they know something is wrong inside. And no supplement, no distraction, no success will fix it until they stop and deal with the root cause. This is not something to mock. It's something to understand, to learn from. When the body rebels, it's not being cruel. It's being honest. It's saying, I cannot hold this tension anymore. You are not living truthfully. And until you return to what is right, I will not let you rest. The most tragic part, often this person could have avoided all of it. The suffering, the deterioration, the breakdown, it was never necessary. It was the result of choice, the result of denying reality, the result of abandoning integrity, and the result of believing that consequences are always external. But karma doesn't need to strike from the outside. The most powerful form of karma is internal. It is when the soul says, enough, and the body responds. So what can we learn from this? First, never ignore the signals. If your body is reacting, ask yourself, what have I suppressed? What have I denied? What am I refusing to face? Second, understand this sign in others not as entertainment, but as a warning. When someone is physically suffering from internal dishonesty, it is a tragedy, not a show. It is nature calling them back to virtue, back to discipline, back to truth. And finally, protect your peace by protecting your integrity. Live in such a way that your body has no reason to rebel against you. Speak honestly, act with courage, apologize when needed. Stay aligned, because a peaceful body is not a luxury, it is a reflection of a peaceful soul. So if you've ever wondered whether karma was real, look at the ones who seem to be getting away with everything. Look closer. Look at their eyes, their posture, their habits, their health, their sleep, their stillness. The truth is, karma doesn't shout, but the body always tells the truth. Sign number 2. Their relationships begin to decay from within. One of the clearest yet quietest signs that someone is already receiving their karma is this. Their relationships, even the closest ones, begin to unravel. Not through dramatic betrayal or obvious collapse, but through a slow, steady erosion of trust, intimacy, and connection. On the surface, everything may seem fine. They may still have friends, a partner, a social circle. But underneath, something has shifted. The foundation is rotting, the warmth is gone. People don't open up like they used to. Conversations feel thinner. Trust is replaced with caution. Respect is replaced with silent doubt. This is not something others always talk about out loud, but they feel it. And more importantly, the person feels it too. They sense that people are pulling away, that they're being tolerated, not cherished, that there's a quiet tension where there used to be ease. And the worst part, they often don't know how to fix it because they haven't yet admitted to themselves what caused the change. In Stoicism, character is everything. It is the root of trust, the heart of harmony. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Because once you stop being one, your relationships begin to reflect it. No matter how charming, talented, or successful you are, if your character is compromised, people will begin to sense it. It leaks through your words, through your energy, through your silence. The Stoics teach that you can't fake integrity. You can't hide your true nature for long. Even if others don't know what you did, even if no one saw the lie, the betrayal, the deception, your relationships will begin to feel it. Why? Because every relationship we build is an extension of our internal alignment. When we live with virtue, our relationships are rooted in mutual respect, depth, and real affection. But when we live in contradiction, those same connections start to feel shallow, uncomfortable, and forced. This is karma, not as punishment, but as natural consequence. You lose not because someone takes things from you. You lose because your own behavior poisons the space between you and others. Little by little, people stop trusting you. They stop sharing. They stop looking to you for guidance or comfort. They may not even be able to explain why. They just feel that something is off. And so they retreat. This is especially painful when it happens in romantic relationships. Someone who once loved you deeply may begin to feel cold, guarded, or emotionally distant. Not because they changed, but because something in you did. Something broke. And even if they can't name it, they feel it. That's the nature of intimacy. It thrives on honesty. And when honesty is gone, even the strongest bond begins to weaken. Friendships suffer too. You notice fewer invitations, less openness, less laughter, less loyalty. You tell yourself people are just busy or growing apart. But the truth is, something in your presence has shifted. You may still be physically there, but your spirit is not at peace. And people, even subconsciously, respond to that. Stoicism emphasizes personal responsibility. You don't control how others feel, but you are fully responsible for the kind of energy you bring into every interaction. If you carry guilt, resentment, arrogance, or deception, that energy builds a wall between you and those who once felt safe with you. Over time, this becomes one of the most painful signs of silent karma. Isolation. Not dramatic loneliness, but a subtle fading. You find yourself in rooms full of people and still feel unseen. You talk, but don't feel heard. You listen, but don't connect. You post, but feel hollow. Because what's missing is not more attention. It's authentic connection, which only comes from integrity. And what makes this sign even more powerful is that it's hard to reverse. Once people stop trusting you, truly trusting you, rebuilding that connection takes time, humility, and real transformation. You can't force people to feel what they used to feel. You have to earn it, not with words, but with the consistent presence of a different character. That's why Stoic discipline is so valuable. It prevents this erosion from ever starting. When you live each day with virtue, courage, honesty, self-restraint, compassion, you create a gravity that holds your relationships together. Even in conflict, people feel your sincerity. Even in silence, they feel your strength. But the moment you betray those principles, the fabric begins to tear. And here's the painful irony. Sometimes the person whose relationships are decaying is still convinced they've done nothing wrong. They might even see themselves as the victim, blaming others for distance, accusing friends of disloyalty, or partners of emotional withdrawal. But the Stoic knows to look inward first, to ask, what in me has shifted? What have I not acknowledged? What did I ignore in myself that others are now reacting to? Because people don't always confront you directly, but they respond emotionally, energetically, spiritually. And when that response becomes consistent across different relationships, it's a clear sign that the karma is no longer internal. It's become relational, and the longer it goes unaddressed, the more you lose, not just others, but yourself in the process. So what do you do if you notice this sign in your own life? First, stop lying to yourself. The Stoics hated self-deception more than any external failure. Be brutally honest. Ask, have I hurt someone and ignored it? Have I justified actions I know were wrong? Have I allowed pride to come between me and the people who matter? Second, take action. Not dramatic, performative action, but real, quiet correction. Apologize if needed. Rebuild trust through consistency, not promises. Listen more. Talk less. Show through behavior that you are once again choosing the path of virtue. And third, be patient. Relationships don't heal on your timeline. Just like karma, restoration works in silence. But if your change is real and your character returns to alignment, the relationships that truly matter may begin to open again. Maybe not all, but the ones built on truth will recognize it when they see it. And if you see this happening in someone else, don't take joy in it. Don't use it as gossip or ammunition. Observe it as a reminder. No matter how powerful, admired, or charming someone may be, if their character is broken, their relationships will eventually reflect it. This is one of the clearest forms of karma, because no matter how well someone performs in public, the people closest to them always know who they really are. And when that truth becomes too heavy, even love becomes silent. Even friendship becomes distance. The Stoics didn't believe in revenge. They believed in nature, in order, in truth. And they knew that time reveals everything. You don't need to destroy someone's reputation. If they've compromised their integrity, their relationships will eventually tell the story. Quietly, consistently, without needing to raise a voice. That's the justice of life, not in what is said, but in what is no longer felt. Sign number 1, they begin to fear the very peace they once desired. There is no deeper form of silent karma than this. When a person begins to fear the very peace they once claimed to seek. It sounds paradoxical at first. Why would anyone fear peace? Why would calm, quiet, and stillness cause discomfort? But if you understand the Stoic perspective, if you truly grasp what it means to live out of alignment with virtue, then you'll understand why this sign is not only real, but final. Imagine a person who once longed for simplicity, who spoke often about needing peace, who wanted to be free of drama, noise, chaos, and yet, when that silence finally comes, when there's no argument, no distraction, no movement, they find it unbearable. Not because peace is uncomfortable, but because in that peace they have nowhere left to hide. In the writings of Marcus Aurelius, there's a recurring theme. the power of returning to the inner citadel, the safe, unshakable part of the soul that remains untouched by the chaos of the world. That citadel is built on self-discipline, reason, virtue, and honesty. If a person has lived with integrity, they can retreat into that quiet space and feel renewed. But if they have not, if they've betrayed themselves, hurt others, or violated their own conscience, then that silence becomes a mirror, and what they see in it, they cannot bear. This is the final karma. Not punishment from others, not external loss, not even physical breakdown, but spiritual exile. A person may still have comfort, money, companionship, even admiration. But when they sit alone, when they try to be still, they feel anxious, restless, hollow, because they know the truth, and the truth no longer comforts them. It confronts them. This fear of peace reveals itself in countless ways. They avoid quiet mornings, they fill their nights with noise. They keep the television on, even when no one's watching. They surround themselves with people, not for connection, but for distraction. They speak quickly, move quickly, and live reactively, because slowing down would mean facing themselves. And here's what's tragic. They may not even realize this is happening. They may believe they're just busy, or that they don't like being bored. But boredom isn't the enemy. The enemy is the truth they buried underneath their own decisions. And in the quiet, it starts to surface. The Stoics believed that the person who has mastered their desires, their impulses, their ego, has nothing to fear from stillness. In fact, silence becomes their sanctuary. Marcus Aurelius often retreated into quiet reflection, not to escape, but to align, to recalibrate, to remember what mattered. But for the person who has drifted too far from what is right, that same silence becomes unbearable. That is how karma works. It does not destroy from the outside, it decays from within. This is why some people become addicted to movement, to ambition, to drama, because those things distract them from the emptiness they carry. They chase achievements not out of purpose, but out of fear. They say yes to commitments they don't care about. They chase relationships they don't respect. They build routines not around meaning, but around avoidance. Because the moment they stop, everything they've tried to suppress rushes back in. And this is where the Stoic lesson becomes sharp. You cannot run from yourself. No matter how far you go, how loud your life becomes, how carefully you curate your image, the soul knows, nature knows. And when it's time for silence, there is no escaping what awaits you there. This sign is the most powerful because it is the most personal. Unlike other signs, relationships fading, the body rebelling, patterns repeating, this one happens in the deepest chambers of a person's inner world. And it's also the hardest to explain. How do you tell someone you're afraid of silence? That peace makes you anxious, that stillness feels like a threat. But the Stoic doesn't run from this. The Stoic turns toward it, with courage, with humility, with the willingness to ask, why can't I be alone with myself? What am I running from? What have I done or failed to do that makes quiet feel dangerous? Because here's the truth, if you can't sit alone in a room without needing to escape, then your karma has already arrived, and it's asking you to come back, to realign, to restore integrity, to repair what was broken, not outside, but within. For those who ignore this sign, life becomes heavier, not visibly, not dramatically, but spiritually. They wake up tired. They go to bed unsettled. They carry tension without cause. Their lives may look full, but inside they feel hollow. And eventually even success becomes tasteless. Even pleasure becomes empty. Because nothing external can satisfy the hunger that comes from abandoning your own soul. The Stoics never promised a life free of pain. They promised a life free of slavery, to impulse, to ego, to illusion. And that freedom begins in the mind, in the soul. in the quiet moments where you confront who you really are and what you've really done. So if you or someone you know fears peace, if stillness brings discomfort instead of clarity, that is not a quirk. It's a signal, a sign, the most serious one of all. And it demands attention, because no matter what else you achieve, if you cannot sit with yourself in silence and feel at home, then the world can never give you what you lack. No relationship, no status, no wealth, no recognition. Peace is not something we find. Peace is something we earn by how we live. And if your soul is at war with your choices, then silence will always be your enemy. That is karma. That is consequence. That is nature asking you, gently, persistently, to return to who you were meant to be. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is awake. Something in you is paying attention, not just to others, but to yourself. And that matters. Because the 5 signs we've explored are not merely about watching karma unfold in other people's lives. They are about understanding how quietly, how precisely, how relentlessly life gives each of us what we build with our own hands, our own choices, and our own character. Karma, from a Stoic perspective, is not mystical. It is not supernatural punishment. It is simply the unfolding of nature, cause and effect. We are not punished for our actions. We are punished by them. When we act out of alignment with reason, with justice, with courage, and with self-control, there is no need for a thunderbolt from the gods. The consequences are already in motion. The guilt we carry, the peace we lose, the way our bodies react, the decay of trust in our relationships, the slow isolation of a restless mind. These are not random, they are not cruel, they are the truth echoing back through the structure of our own lives. One of the hardest lessons in life is accepting that you don't always get to see the moment justice happens. Not every betrayal is exposed, not every lie gets caught, not every selfish act is met with instant consequence. But that doesn't mean there's no justice. The Stoics teach us to trust that the order of the universe does not need to justify itself to us. We may not witness the moment a person begins to suffer for their choices, but if their choices were dishonest, cruel, or lacking in virtue, that suffering is already present. Not visible, but present. And here's the part most people miss. Those signs are not just warnings for others, they are mirrors for ourselves. The greatest danger is not that someone else escapes justice, it's that we live blindly, comfortably, and confidently while being out of alignment with who we claim to be. Because when that happens, karma doesn't come to punish us, it comes to teach us. And the first sign is always discomfort in the soul, a subtle fracture, a silence that no longer feels safe. That's why this message matters. That's why the 5 signs are more than content. They are invitations, invitations to reflect, to course correct, to take full ownership of our path. You don't need to obsess over what someone else is or isn't going through. You don't need to wish them pain. You don't need to wait for their world to collapse, because the moment you need someone else to suffer in order to feel peace, you've already lost yours. What Stoicism demands of us is far more difficult and far more liberating. It asks us to stop looking outward for justice and to begin looking inward for alignment. It asks us to stop chasing revenge and start cultivating discipline. It asks us to release the illusion of control over others and return to the only thing that truly belongs to us, our own will, our own actions, our own mind. This is not about weakness. It's about power, the kind of power that doesn't shake when others win, the kind that doesn't collapse when others lie, the kind that doesn't depend on external validation or visible outcomes. It's the power that comes from self-mastery, from living in a way that needs no defense, no excuse, no performance. If you've seen these signs in someone else, let that observation be a tool for compassion, not superiority. You are no better for recognizing another's fall. You are only wiser if you use that moment to strengthen your own commitment to the path. And if you've seen these signs in yourself, then this is your moment. This is your opportunity, not to sink into shame, but to rise with clarity, to return to who you know you are, before life convinces you to forget. As long as you are alive, the door to virtue remains open. You can still choose honesty. You can still choose courage. You can still choose silence over noise, reflection over reaction, and peace over punishment. That is your task, not waiting for karma, but walking with character. And if you ever doubt whether justice exists, look deeper. Look at how peace leaves those who abandon virtue. Look at how the body rebels when the conscience is ignored. Look at how trust dies when truth is compromised. Look at how the mind begins to fear stillness. These are not random. These are not flaws in the system. They are the system. Nature doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't chase. It waits. And when someone turns from what is right, it doesn't destroy them instantly. It allows them to destroy themselves in slow, quiet degrees. That is the hardest truth. That is the deepest justice. And that is the reminder we carry forward. Let this not be a message that makes you judge others. Let it be one that sharpens your awareness, that clears your mind, that strengthens your will. Every moment is a chance to realign. Every day is a chance to rebuild peace, not by changing the world, but by changing how you walk through it. And so if this message has spoken to something in you, if you felt any part of it as truth, as clarity, as something worth remembering, then leave this in the comments. Silence never lies. Not because it's a catchy phrase, but because it's the final lesson. When all is said, when all is done, when all the masks fall off, silence remains. And if you can sit in that silence with peace, you've already won. This is Diary Stoic. Thank you for walking this path. Stay firm, stay clear, stay disciplined, and remember, your character is your fate.